Hello, hello. Hello. If you are watching live, let me know how my audio is. Should be should be okay. So, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Chris Legaspi. Today is Tuesday, July 28th, and today we're going to run back the live stream from yesterday, Monday, July 27th. I apologize if you were watching live. I apologize for the crash. I was using my iPhone. I was using my iPhone to to stream, which just wasn't the best idea, and it overheated. So today, we're just gonna basically review the topics from yesterday. It's a very important topic, and this class is going to be the first of a series. I'm going to be doing a couple live streams, some of these free introductory classes where I share a little bit of some of my head drawing philosophy. It's all about head drawing, portrait drawing, drawing faces, and how to draw better heads, more dynamic heads. So thank you for joining me live. If you're watching live, comment below. Let me know where you are um, watching from. Where are you located? What time is it for you? I am currently in Thailand right now. It's 9 p.m. for me. I'm an American, but I live in Thailand at the moment. And so yeah, let's get started. I don't have too much to talk about today. I'm just going to share one of I think is one of the most important topics, which is designing the shape, the head type, the silhouette, how to use that to really create an impact and get a really important, one of the most important things that you want to establish in head drawing. But first, before we get that, I wanted to announce that I will be doing a new head drawing class, an online class. It's going to be it's actually going to be an 8-week class. I finished the outline today. Um, it's going to be really exciting. Let me see if I have it on my computer here. So it's going to be the first level of the class, level 101, more the introductory section. It'll be 4 weeks. And I'm going to really break down everything I know about head drawing and my current philosophy. So if you like my work and, maybe you follow me on Instagram or New Masters, head drawing is one of the known for. It's one of the things that I do every day and I think about every day. And I'm a bit of a scientist. So I'm always refining my theory, my thesis on head drawing. I'm always refining my ideas. So this is like the most up-to-date 2020 version. I have taught head drawing many times in the last 10 years. And what I plan to teach, I've never taught before. So it's going to be really exciting. And it's going to be live. I want the start date to be August 10th. Monday, August 10th is going to be 2 time zones. So I know I have a lot of students and viewers in all over the world. So I'm going to have it in 2 different time zones. So it's going to be as convenient as possible for everyone. And the most important thing is that this is going to be a very intense class with a lot of homework and a lot of interaction. So you'll be able to interact with me live. You'll be able to get homework critique every week. And that's really important. If any of you may be taking class with me in person, know that I'm every class with me is basically like a mentorship. I just bombard you with homework and I expect you to interact with me. So the more work you do, the more you will grow and the more feedback you'll get. So that's really my philosophy. So that's really the most exciting thing about that. You get a lot of interaction. a lot of critiques. So you get that instant feedback. And I think that's the most valuable part of taking any class or mentorship or getting coached by an expert is to get that feedback. And, you'll be getting some of this latest state-of-the-art tech, head drawing tech that I've been developing. And so the first 4 weeks will start August 10th. And I'm going to send out the official announcement by email tomorrow. So make sure you sign up to, if you're not already, make sure you sign up to my email list at drawwithchris.com/subscribe. And there you can just enter your email here and, you'll be on my mailing list. And you'll also get access to a bunch of downloads. And I have a lot of free content as well that's available for my email subscribers. So you think you'll enjoy that. So that's a quick announcement right there. Let's get back to work. And I'll definitely have time for questions at the end. So make sure you stay to the end, and you'll get the homework assignment. I'm going to share the homework assignment for this, something that we could all do. And we'll do the Q&A. So if you have any questions for me about head drawing, I'll be happy to answer those at the end. So Chris, why is shapes important? Maybe you've heard of that concept, the outer shape silhouette before. Why is it important? Well, the number one reason why it's important is that we want to get the read. The read is the name of the game. And read just basically means it's the visual read, yes, like, is it a square? Is it a box? Is it round? Is it a muscular man? Is it a slender female? Right, that's nice. But for me, the read is also an emotional, visceral thing. It's something that that happens to you internally. For example, like if you let's say, imagine, maybe a close family member or your closest friend, a brother, sister, or your closest friend. Imagine you guys are sitting down in a crowded room, and then for whatever reason, your family member or friend gets up and goes, and you get separated. So if you're sitting down in a crowded room and you look around, you can you'll probably, and if you quickly glance at your friend from a distance or your family member, you'll probably be able to recognize them by their outer shape or their silhouette. So that's the important thing of read. It's an emotional thing, really. It's a deep thing, and that's what you want in your drawing, in your drawings or your paintings. You want to impact the viewer as much as possible, and the first way to do that is with the silhouette, the outer shape. So that's why it's important. Now, who can benefit from this? And I think if you're watching this and if you follow me, you're probably more in the realistic vein. So any realist type artist can benefit from this. Illustrators like me, whether you do movie posters, comic books, or book covers, children's books. Maybe you want to be an animator. Animators know this very, very well. Or anybody that needs a likeness. So, for example, if you want to do realistic portraits and sell portraits and get more portrait commissions, the simplest ways to get a likeness quickly is by designing a very good silhouette and getting that initial emotional read, that impact. So that's why read is so important. So that's really what this class is about. Now, you may be asking, so Chris, how do we get a read? Well, I'm going to talk about the technical side of it, how to look for shape and ways to define the shape. But first, what I do and what I always recommend is that when you look at your subject, or when you even if you're inventing something, you want to ask yourself some questions, right? So you want to ask, For example, some good questions to ask, like, is their head type, is their silhouette, is their outer shape, is it squarish? Is it, is it curved or round? Is it angular, like a triangle? Is it more a curvy type design? Right? Or is it maybe a combination of both? So that's something to ask yourself before you begin drawing. Take a moment to look and observe and analyze what you have, and the more information you have in your visual library, the more you'll be able to pick on this. And one way to expand your visual library, obviously, is to draw yourself, and also to copy the works of other great artists, other great masters, whatever great master artist you admire. Sargent is a great realist that just pops into my head. He's very famous for portraits, draws interesting head types. Andrew Zorn, in similar vein. Daniel Sprick pops to mind. Another great artist that you can copy. Another thing to ask yourself is the face what's the nature of the face? Is it long? Is it wide? Is the head shape long? Is the head shape wide? Does that person have a big face? The head feels small relative to the size of their skull structure in their face. Do the features feel big? Or is it the opposite? Do they have like a relatively small features relative to the mass of their head in their face, right? That's something to ask for. And really what this comes down to, again, going back to read as an emotional connection, that's something to think about. More than the visual, right? More than drawing a nice head visually, the emotional component is, to get the emotional component is to first ask yourself and be aware of what is the first impression for you. What is it that you read, that stands out to you? What is it that you notice right away that stands out to you, that impresses you? You know what I mean? Besides the features, obviously, when you look at faces, a lot of times the features stand out. But do they have do their cheekbones pop out? Do they have a square jaw? Do they have maybe a double chin? Is their chin very pointy? Do their ears stick out? Are they bald? Do they have big hair? Whatever part of their outer shape or their structure stands out to you. You want to hold that in your mind. And what we do with that emotional impression is we emphasize it. We exaggerate it, almost to a caricature level. And we'll talk about that as well in the exercises. Because that's one way to get a good likeness in your drawing, is to exaggerate a little bit. So that's one way to get the read to the viewer, is to be aware of it in yourself. So I hope that makes sense. That's something that with practice and mindfulness and good guidance, maybe taking classes or learning from other artists who think in this vein, other good realists, that they really understand that the importance of taking the time to look and training your eye, and then being aware of what stands out to you, and being able to communicate that. Okay, so that's a brief introduction on to the philosophical side, I guess, the mindset. Now let's get on to the technical side. And for those of you who just joined us, thank you for watching live. This is and if you watched live yesterday, if you just joined us, again, I apologize for the crash. So we're basically reviewing the lecture from yesterday, and then we're going to move forward with the demonstration portion and the homework exercise. And what we just covered was some questions to ask and what to look for when you observe the model, and what to be aware of in yourself in terms of what's your first impression. Now let's get to head types. Okay, so let's start with some common head types here. And if you're watching live on replay, comment below. How did you find out about this live stream? Did you follow me on New Masters? Are you on my mailing list? Are you on YouTube? Let me know how you found out about this stream, because actually I got a lot of messages, and I'm very grateful. I read all your messages. I haven't been able to respond to them all, but I do read your messages. So thank you for messaging and commenting. Let me know below, how did you find out about this? And also, I'm curious, where are you on your path, on your journey? Are you a student? Are you a professional? Maybe you're a professional illustrator or animator or comics artist, or maybe you're a hobbyist, or maybe you want to transition. Let me know where you are. I'm very curious. I know a lot of my recent viewers come from New Masters Academy, and a lot of the folks that I talk to personally are they already have full-time careers and just do art as a hobby, as a serious hobby. So let me know where you are now. Okay, back to work here. Okay, so head types, there are, in my mind, there are basically 4 common head types. And they are kind of something curvy, circular. They're kind of squarish, either square or rectangularly. They're kind of angular. These are a bit more rare. And they come in different forms. People who their chins feel kind of narrow, come to a point. And then there's also kind of the teardroppy kind of people. Heart-shaped, teardrop shape. So that's basically the 3 common head types. Either curvy, round, eggish, squarish, boxy, rectangular, or triangular, angular, or somewhere in between. Somewhere in between. This is probably a little bit more common. Comment below, which one are you? Have you drawn a self-portrait lately? Which one are you? I would categorize myself as rectangle. Especially now as I get older, I'm losing a bit more hair. So I have my cranium doesn't look as big and lush anymore. So I definitely look more rectangular as I get older. Okay, so these are the basic head types. And these photographs here are examples of, I grabbed off the internet, and these folks here are what I would categorize as the basic head types. So on the left here, I believe is Anthony Hopkins. I believe his name is actor. So he has obviously a curvy, right? A lot of curve, and again, because he's has no hair, you can see the curve in his skull. That's more of the curvy type. This actress obviously has a squarish. To me, you see how the jaw feels almost at a straight angle. You see that? Very squarish there. This female on the bottom has that angular. Look how narrow her chin feels relative to her head. So that's definitely more the angular. She has a very lean jaw. Look how defined and lean her cheekbones are and her jawbone. And this gentleman here on the lower right, he has a bit of he's somewhere between a rectangle and a bit of a teardrop. Now his chin looks like it's coming to a point, but I think it's just partly the shadow. So to me, he's more of that teardrop. And what I call the Loomis man. Other artists may also call this the Loomis man is the idealized male head that Andrew Loomis, the very famous teacher, made famous in his teaching. So he's a very the idealized handsome male, chiseled handsome male, has that rectangular head shape. So these represent the common head types. Now, how do we see the head types, Chris? How do we see them? Well, again, it goes back to asking some good questions. How do we see the head types? Well, okay. How do we see the head types? Well, one thing we could do is, again, go back to what I talked about determining the initial first impression is let's take a moment to look at our model and what we want to draw. Even if you're inventing, when I draw, even when I invent, I want to get what's called the fancy English word is extremities, which is basically the top, bottom, and sides. What are the top, bottom, and sides? So when you draw, and when I say top, I typically look for the top of the cranium. So even if the hair goes above that, I try to use my mind's eye to imagine the top of the hair. The sides, to me, or at least in front view, are the sides of the cheek and the jawbone where they meet the ear. So typically I don't count the ear as the initial head shape, but the ear is very important. So we'll get more of that later. In fact, there'll probably be a whole live stream class on the ear. It's so important. And then the bottom of the jaw. So the top of the head, bottom of the jaw, sides of the face, where the cheekbones typically are in front view anyway. That's what I look for. That's what I look for. So these are the extremities. And once you have them, you can, the top, bottom, sides, it kind of helps you when you're ready to sketch or design your shape. Really helps me and helps you to also plot the initial rhythm lines, the center of the face, center of the eye. So that's really important. Now, the second question to ask is, where are the corners? Now, And well, what the hell are corners? And how do you see corners? Well, corners are basically um, direction changes. When I look at corners, I look for direction change and obvious straights. Obvious straights. Now, in organic form, like a human being, we don't have straights. You kind of have to make them up, but or enhance them, exaggerate them. So, for example, we can. Let's take a look at this female here. To me, this has a clear from here to here. That's a clear straight. There's also one here. This is her hairline, but we can use that because that's actually, it falls along a skull structure. The jawbone and this falls along skull architecture. That's very important. So in this case, we can count that. So you see that? That's obvious straight. Here's one as well. This again, it's hairline, but it falls along architecture. So we can kind of count that. Look at this. Look at this. Obvious straight. Really angular, right? Of course, they're not straight like a line, like I drew, like a ruler, but we can emphasize them based on your aesthetic or based on your style. And this is, this what I'm teaching here comes from the academic lineage tradition of academic drawing. And when you start to draw academic realism, you draw with straights. You draw. You start your drawing. You straighten curved things because they're just easier to measure. So look for obvious straights, and when you get obvious straights, you can then start to imply corners. And a corner is a direction change, right? So we can see here that, for example, in this face, it goes from the temple and the top of the cheek, and then there's a direction change this way. You see that? It goes from here, then it goes here. So here must be a corner. So where you interpret the corner, that's kind of up to you, but there's a couple ways to do that. But let's just, for example, let's just kind of, draw the line, and where they intersect, that's a corner. So this goes down here, and then the changes direction this way. So this is a direction change. So there must be an obvious corner somewhere there. And here it's a subtle direction change. This goes here. Subtle direction change goes from left to right to left and back. You see that? And then from here to here. So you have corners, corners, corners. So again, this comes from academic drawing. This is your first time. Comment below if this is your first time hearing this idea. Sometimes I forget, once when you draw for so long, you forget. I forget that this was new to me at one time. So comment below. This is your first time hearing the concept of straights and corners. drawing in this sort of this academic way. So that's one example. And obvious place to look are bony parts. So cheekbone, chin. Cheekbone is the obvious one. That's an obvious corner. Typically, people change direction. Let me pull up one here. These are some really unique faces I found on the internet. Oh, and if you make sure to watch till the end, and I'll give you guys the access to my to this reference folder so you can do the homework. Let's look for some obvious straights and corners. Look at these beautiful cheekbones. Look at these beautiful cheekbones. Right? Clear, obvious. Corner there. Look at that. Look at how square and flat that chin is. That's obvious straight. When you have obvious straights, you have obvious direction changes, so they're very easy to find corners when you have straights. Here, look at this beautiful cheekbone here. Jawbone. Very clear corner. Of course, it has an organic curve, but when we draw, our initial read is a straight. The emotional read, the visceral, the initial impression is a hard straight. Jawbone here again. This one is curved, so it takes a little bit more practice. But I look at the cheekbone, and on this side of her face, if I were to draw from this photo, I see a very subtle direction change. You see that? It goes from here to here, and then from here to here. It changes in degrees, so obvious corner there. Okay, so that's just a brief look at how to see corners. And also, one thing to be aware of is, and one thing to be mindful of is, another question to ask is, what is the widest point and what is the most narrow point? So, for example, some faces, they have a big cranium, but their chin is very small. Some faces have the opposite effect. Maybe they have a wide chin, but their cranium and their face feels small. So you might have seen both of these examples in your visual library. Let's look at some examples here. I have one actually. Oh, that was a good example. Oh, that's a good example too. Okay. We'll go over these examples in a minute. So here's an example right here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Notice that if you look at how narrow his chin is, but look how wide the upper part. So it has this beautiful widening at the top and little narrow chin at the bottom. So you want to heighten that in your drawing, exaggerate that, almost caricature that. That's a great way. That's a great way to get that initial shape read. And this gentleman here on the right has the opposite. He has a very wide base, thick, wide jaw, but the cranium seems to be a little bit more narrow at the top. So if I were drawing this as a portrait commission, I would begin my drawing with this initial read. And would be a great foundation to get that likeness. Or if I was, doing this as, for my work as a movie poster comp artist, we have to get the read quickly. Like if we're drawing Samuel L. Jackson, kind of comes to mind. He's kind of got a big. He's more in this vein. He's got a square head, wide head with little narrow chin. So I would draw him kind of like that. Little narrow at the chin, but wide at the top. And so that's something to ask for. Is what is the widest point and what is the most narrow point? And sometimes the widest point can be the cheeks. Sometimes the widest point can be at the cheek. If we look at this model here on the left, upper left, her widest point is at her cheek. Look at those beautiful cheekbones, right? Very unique, wide at the cheek. You guys see that? That's the widest point. And this model in the upper right, I would say, at least in this angle, her widest point is at the jawbone. So again, you can heighten that to get that beautiful, beautiful initial read. What is the widest point? What is the most narrow point? Okay. Shoot. I'm going to jump into the homework exercises now. Let me just quickly go over some examples for you guys here. Just quickly go through the examples. So this example of squarish and rectangle head type. Remember I talked about the most common head types they're either circular, squarish, or angular, triangular. Now this man up on the left, he has a squarish head type, but he's more of a wide, right? Squarish, wide, especially if you count his ears. So to me, this would be a great thing to exaggerate his width. This is a squarish head type, but it's long on the right. Look how long his face appears. You guys see that? And on the lower left here, these are round, curvy faces. This woman on the left, she has a round, curved feature of her face, but it's more of a uniform sphere, very spherical, right? Almost a perfect circle. This gentleman on the right has a longer, especially if you include his jowl, the double chin there under the chin. That's a big part of the likeness, obviously. That's just an example of same head type, but being aware of how wide is it or how tall it is. And let's see. Okay, yeah. So that's all the reference I wanted to cover. So now let's get into the exercises. And if you just joined us, we are continuing we're continuing we just concluded the lecture on head types, how to see head types, how to see straights, how to see corners, how to get that initial read, and how to and why it's important, and then also how to see that in your when you're looking at reference, when you're looking at subject here. Okay, so the first exercise, let's see, let's do this one here. Okay, I think I'll leave that there. So the first exercise is exaggerating the shape. Now, what do I mean by that? So when you make your observation of the general head type you want to really push it as far as you can. So if someone is curvy, you want to make them really curvy. If someone is egg-like, oval, really make it an egg. If someone is triangular, really push the triangular nature, exaggerate. And when you exaggerate faces and in head drawing, it's called caricature. That's a French word. Comment below if any of you have either drawn caricature or have had your caricature drawing done at a theme park or maybe at a party. Let me know. Comment below. Believe it or not, I actually drew caricatures in theme parks for, I'd like to say 4 years. My God, I drew caricatures in theme parks for money. I did that as a full-time job, believe it or not. Well, I mean, it's not hard to believe. That's kind of where I honed my skill. I really admire the guys who do that. So comment below. Let me know if you've ever drawn caricatures or had your caricature drawn. Okay. Now, the first exercise is caricature shape. So, again, exaggerate the head type that you see. So, let's look at this head type here. So, I have this man on the left here, and he's clearly an egg to me. You guys see that? Clearly an egg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exaggerate the egginess of him. And, you know, for me, the his bottom half feels smaller, more narrow at the bottom. See, this is why I wanted to do this class with pencil and paper. It's just more fun to sketch. Okay. So this, I'm gonna go ahead and put the so it's an eggy type. On the upper right, this female, she's very boxy to me. So I'm going to exaggerate her boxiness. Really try to push it as far as I can. It's okay if you initially don't get the likeness. It's okay. It's more of a seeing exercise and to test how far you can push yourself, because this may be uncomfortable to some, be able to really stretch and exaggerate what they see. But this is just an exercise. It's a sketching exercise, so You're not trying to do a finished drawing. These probably take less than a minute to do. It's more about observation, really. So this bottom one, see that? My hand's at a bit of an uncomfortable angle here in the and this gentleman on the left, he has a bit of a, I'm going to push the vertical nature. See how his hair kind of brings his vertical rectangle nature up. And then I'm going to kind of exaggerate that little pointy curve he has at the bottom there. And also you want to be mindful of where the widths are. Is the top wider than the bottom? Are the cheeks wider than the forehead? That kind of thing. Keep that in mind when you're doing this exercise. So, you don't want to spend too much time on these. You can do these in your sketchbook. That's what I would recommend. Maybe spend about a minute each one. And this is great. What I would really recommend is you go to the coffee shop or you go out in public. Because in public, you'll be able to test your visual read. You only have maybe 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute if you're lucky, if the person sits still at the coffee shop or, train station or your work, wherever you can sit down in the group of people. It's a great place to do this exercise. That's kind of how I honed my skill, is I just did non-stop coffee shop drawing, and non-stop. My initial dream was to be an animator or a character designer, so I did coffee shop drawing up the wazoo, up the yin yang, because I admired guys like Steven Silver, and I got to sketch with Cheeks, Sean Galloway a few times in California and San Diego. So had a lot of aspirations to be in animation. So that's kind of where I got this idea was from early influenced by animators. And we'll do one more quick one here. Let's do the unique one here. Let's see how far we can push it. So I'm going to really try to push this idea. Okay, so upper left. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. She just has a beautiful bone structure. I'm just so attracted to. I always encourage students, when you're looking for a reference, when you're setting up still lifes, when you're doing lighting, when you're painting in color, practice something that's very obvious at first. That way you don't have to think. You just go, oh, that's obviously a square. Widest point is obviously her cheek. So that's a boom. That's a no-brainer. So once you can train your eye to see the obvious, then you're more likely to be able to spot the subtle. So now let's quickly take a look at the shape. Right away, I know that I don't like the shape. The read is not what I want. You guys feel that? You know what's missing? You know why it does that? It's missing. I need to pump up now. For me, the first read of this model here is her beautiful wide cheekbones. So I'm like, I'm going to pump that up. Notice when my initial sketch, you notice that The cheeks were as wide as the jaw. Now that I shrink the size of the jaw relative to the cheek, now it starts to feel, okay, now it's more, now we're getting somewhere. I'm really pushing that. You see that? So that's what this exercise will teach you. It's like, okay, maybe the initial sketch, my initial 30-second sketch doesn't feel right. It's not reading right. It doesn't have that emotional impact that I want. Why? Ask yourself why. Is my jaw too wide? You know what I mean? Is my cheek too narrow? Is my cranium too big? Is it too wide? So is not boxy enough? So these are the kind of things that this exercise will help you develop. And you see how the ears, if I consciously push them back behind the cheekbone, it really heightens the effect. So I think this is much more successful than my initial sketch. And this face here at the bottom right, really unique face. To me, this is like a very curved. This would be an example of the face feels small relative to the structure, the architecture, right? That would be an example of that. And I can push that even more. See, my initial read, I know this is about shape, but the moment I shrink, it starts to feel a little bit more like her little tiny dot for a mouth. When I used to draw caricatures, it's so much fun to when someone does have a big head and small features, you just draw like little dots for eyes. It's just so it's so fun. Someone like that, they have maybe a big nose. That was like my old manager. His name was Dave. Yeah, he had a very funny face to draw. Okay, so anyway, this is just some exercise you do. Probably it's a good for a warm up. Maybe spend 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe spend 30 seconds to a minute on each one. Get yourself warmed up. Get your brain primed to start to look and observe its shapes. That's a great warm up exercise. Now, the second exercise is what I call the silhouette exercise. And there's a couple ways to do this. I would say use your sketchbook or a Post-it note. Oh, sorry about the noise, guys. Oh, here it is. I was looking for my Post-it note. You guys see this on camera? You know what this is, Post-it note? It's like a little... This is one of the greatest sketchbooks ever invented. And again, I learned this from animators. Also, people who go to Art Center. Comment below if maybe you're watching, you go to Art Center, or you did. A lot of Art Center guys draw on these two. Scott Robertson is one of the famous Art Center teachers. I believe he one of the first to recommend Post-it notes for his design students. So I'm going to do it on, God, I wish I had one on a Post-it note. I'm going to do it here. Let's just pretend I have a Post-it note. Oops. Doesn't matter which color you use, obviously. And so you got your Post-it note. What you want to do is do like a quick head lay-in. Oops. Looking at the lower left here, that's my model here. So start with the previous exercise, the warm-up exercise. Kind of nail the shape, the character, the nature. Is it square? Is it round? Is it long? Is it narrow? Is it angular? Is it pointy? Is it curved? What's the nature of what you're looking at? Try to get that. And for me, and what's your first impression? So for me, the first impression is this model here, the curve of her cranium. It's really beautiful. Kind of feels like a kind of egg. And obviously the ears in this case add to the nature. To me, this is wide. This is a wide, natured drawing. Head type, skull shape, wide. That's the initial. It's my initial read, my initial impression. So once you get that, and take your time, please. I know maybe you're watching me and you're like, oh, well, he gets it in 10 seconds. So I'm only going to spend 10 seconds. No, I mean, I get it in 10 seconds. I've done this for, over 2 decades now. So, take your time on this. I should probably go a lot slower. And, I'm trying to save a little bit of time. I always go over on these. Oh, I'm over again. These classes. So you're on your little Post-it note. There. And then you take a marker. And you take like a Sharpie marker and you, the heck? There you go. You take a Sharpie marker and you mark in the silhouette around your head type to see if you have nailed it. You'll know right away. Because this is what this whole class is about. What we started with is the initial visceral read, the emotional read, the emotional impression, the emotional impact that you have on your viewer. If you feel it, your viewer will feel it, and you'll know. And when you do it on a Post-it, like a little drawing like this, obviously it's low risk, so you can have fun and experiment. And you won't, when you do it on a Post-it, you won't you won't stress out about doing a finished drawing. You're like, oh my god, I gotta do a beautiful rendered drawing so I can post it on Instagram. No. When you do it this small, you can focus on the actual exercise itself, which is just training your eye and training your mind to focus on the read. So that's one example right there. Let me do one more example, and then we'll cut off for today, and I'll get to your questions. Let's see. Okay, these are good. Again, this man on the upper right is perfect. And he has some hair too. Maybe I'll do one example with a female with hair so you can see how I would handle hair. Hair will be a whole other discussion. And I'm going to let's use a yellow Post-it note. And these are cheap too. They're cheap, they're easy to find. Those of you who've maybe been following me for a while, you know how I have this love affair with office supplies. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. I mean, it's I don't know. I freaking love drawing on cheap office supplies, Sharpie markers, and copy paper, Postit Notes. Anyway, okay. So, so let's take a look at this gentleman on the upper right here. We're doing our silhouette Post-it exercise. Obviously, he's a rectangle. Obviously, he's long, right? This is a great choice. Where is the widest point? My first impression is the hair in the cranium, right? You guys see that? Hair in the cranium feels pretty wide. Okay, but his chin feels wide too. I want to keep that, so I'm going to start with that. Just going to quickly sketch in the chin. Keep it nice and long, exaggerate. And this line is his hair. I'm kind of drawing and observing through, his cranium. I'm looking, kind of ignoring the hair for now. Kind of drawing through there. So this feels good. Let's start to sketch. Just kind of lay in his features. You don't want to, draw a finished head. Just give yourself enough to kind of have some context as to where the cheekbones would be. See, this one, I feel like it's not reading that well because I need to push the length even more. I think it's still too short. I need to make it even longer, right? And then the ears come out. That's a helper. And this kind of shorthand that I've developed, I don't really see anyone else teaching this kind of shorthand. That's what I'm going to be teaching in my head drawing class. Is my process, which is pretty high tech in my opinion. It's efficient. It's smooth and efficient. Okay, let's see if I can. These whole drawings are a little big now. I want to have room for the. It's okay. Even at the line stage, I could tell there's still. I wonder if I can push the nose even more. Yeah. I could drop. Yes. See now. Now, see that? Just dropping the mouth, exaggerating the length of the middle section of the face, basically the nose and cheek section, the central thirds, as I call it in rule of thirds, but more than that another day. Okay, so now we're cooking. And you see it's very stylized, but that's okay. That's what this exercise is for. So kind of push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Okay, so I think I feel pretty good about this. In line, I feel my initial sense is that the read is good. So now I'm gonna take my marker and test my read. It feels pretty good, right? It's there. I'm relying a little bit on the features, but let's test it without the features. Let's see what happens. This is the real test. Do this in pencil. and then see if you can. Oh, you see that? It does. Even when I erase out the features, right? I still have that read. This is the bread and butter right here. This is how you get. This is what I call architecture. Steve Houston also calls this type of thing architecture. This is what you build your realistic drawing on. Is this, well, this is 2D architecture. There's three-dimensional form architecture as well. We'll talk about that in another day. But this is, you see how if this is working, everything has a chance to succeed. So this is bread and butter right here. This is the architecture, the foundation of realistic head drawing. Believe it or not, is learning how to exaggerate head types and silhouettes. So I think I'm going to cut out for here, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm going to get to your questions now. It's been about an hour. I'm going to cut out here. And before I get to your questions, I just want to remind everyone that I'll be teaching a 4-week online head drawing class starting August 10th, I believe. So in 2 weeks, it's going to be Monday, August 10th. 2 different time zones. One class going to meet once a week for a couple hours. But as you know, I always go over. I always go way over. I'm just going to pack it with information. It's going to be as close to a mentorship as you can get online because I'm just going to slam you with information. I'm going to slam you with the latest head drawing tech that I've been developing for the last 20 years. And you're going to get a lot of homework, and the more homework you do, the more critiques and feedback you get. And that's the fastest way to improve, is to get that instant direct feedback. So it's going to be a lot of high tech, really world-class information, a lot of homework, interaction, a lot of feedback. So it's going to be a really super fast track kind of class, very intense. And I'm going to make the official announcement tomorrow. So make sure to get that in the schedule, make sure to join my email list. Go to drawwithchris.com/subscribe, and you can enter your email here, and you'll get updated on the schedule, and you also get discounts. Some of you watching maybe on my mailing list, I always give discount codes if you're into that kind of thing, saving a little money. I know it's we could all use that, save a little money, and I always give a lot of perks to my email subscribers. So drawwithchris.com/subscribe, and you'll get the latest schedule and such things. I'll send the outline out tomorrow, so it can be really exciting. And it's actually going to be a total of 8 weeks. I just finished the outline today. It's going to be a total of 8 weeks. I already got 8 weeks planned, and there's going to be so a couple bonuses for those who graduate. I'm going to have I want to put in some kind of graduation system. So those who do the work and are serious, I got a little bonus planned for you guys as well. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna start the first 4 weeks is kind of be level 1 or head drawing 101, and then in the next 8 weeks, the following 4 weeks, following this, after about a week break or so, will be more of an advanced stuff. So But anyway, drawwithchris.com/subscribe. So hope to see you there. All right. Thank you for staying up with me. Let me get to your questions now. All right. Oh, I wish I had some water. Sorry about yesterday, guys. Oh, hey, Dutch Nathaniel. Hello from Canada, Wisconsin. Head drawing sounds awesome. Hello from Turkey. Is the course free? No, no, no. But I will. There will be a lot of free stuff available, as well. I try to whenever I release a premium course or a class, I try to put out as much free content as possible. Mr. Hobo Joe, hello. Mailing list, intermediate student, how to be professional, great. Hello, Jeff, follow you on Instagram, great. New masters, Kathy, mailing list, intermediate student, doing Watts online. Oh, cool, tech, doing Watts online. Yeah, I took class with Jeff, one class with Jeff and one class with some of his students. Yeah, I took a handful of classes at Watts, God, 15 years ago now, when one of their early locations. And then I moved to Los Angeles shortly after. Text says I'm a bowling ball. Yep, roundy, rectangular, roundish, squared. Yes, square jaw. Anthony Hopkins, Sophia Loren. Yes. Flavio, is it live? Yes. Greetings. Hello, obvious traits. Married people, yeah. Hello from Brazil. Barking those corners, yep. B Apple Juice made a comment. Barking is academic drawing. Bark, he's referring to bark plates, which is a great way to learn academic drawing remotely. Jeff says, first time for me. Oh, welcome, Jeff. Maria, first time hearing about straights and corners. Welcome, Maria, yeah. First time too. Those are great faces, yeah. Oh, and I promised you guys my reference. Hold on a second. I have come across straights. Nice early sketch for also drawing sets of straights to approximate curves. Yes, correct. Those poses also influence how much we see the cranium. Yes. Will this video be available? Yes, archived. All these YouTube streams are archived. YouTube archives it automatically. You can follow the same link. Oops. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah. Every these live streams are automatically archived on YouTube. Likeness is the most difficult part. Yes, join the club. I agree. Flavio says likeness is the most difficult part. I would agree with that. And I think every artist strives for that, especially the realist artists, especially the paid. Those of us who sell our head drawings, illustrators, comics artists, movie posters, book cover artists, and portrait commission, fine artists who do portrait commissions, we got to get the likeness. I miss going to cafe drawing sessions, taking a break. Yeah, some coffee shops are still closed. Wow, meeting those artists at a cafe. I wish it happens to me. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Maria's mentioned, I told the story how I met. I didn't meet. I know Steven Silver personally through a mutual friend. I got to sketch with him a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago. Maybe more now, actually. And Cheeks, Sean Galloway, also met him through a mutual friend. Yeah, it's epic. And that's another reason why I always encourage people to find a mentor. If you can't find a mentor, find a live online class. Find the best artists you can, take their class, buy their books or whatever you can find. And then step 2 is to get the best group of artists around you. Surround yourself with the best group of artists, and that's what I'm constantly trying to do. And I know those of us who live in remote areas, you can't do that. Then you have to come find online classes like as best as you can. An artist I know advised me to work small. I think it's a good idea to begin or do study. Yes, advised to work small. Mr. Kyle Yamamoto, hello, sir. Good to hear from you. Michael Hamilton, good strategy. Hobo cheers. Cool class. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Learned so much. Gonna apply now. Looking forward to the next stream. Mr. Art. Mr. Karen. Hello, sir. Mr. Welber, thanks for the lecture, Chris. Any more tips on how to observe and simplify the head shapes, features? Yes, but I would advise you to review the earlier section of this because I have dozens of ways to look, but basically the beginning of what to do is in this video. The most important steps is what's the widest point? What's the most narrow point? Is it tall? Is it square? Is it wide? Is it round? Is it curved? Exaggerate that. And also the extremities, the top, bottom, side. Once you master those, you can see those and exaggerate, push and pull those points. That's the way to go. And, I like to teach one little section at a time and then practice throughout the week. Ryan asks, what makes a female space pretty? Korean artist illustration, Kim Jung-gi. He draws simple yet pretty faces almost every time. What makes a female face pretty? I would say it's symmetry. That's a great question. Ryan asks, what makes a female face pretty? And I believe it's symmetry because it's symmetry. We love symmetry because it's a sign of genetic. I believe that's the theory. I can't 100% prove it, but I'll go with that. It makes sense to me for now. What makes a thing pretty is the symmetry. And when you're symmetrical, you're healthy. And when you're healthy, it means you can have healthy children. That's a great question. Flavio said, any tips how to achieve likeness in figure drawing? Really draw complex poses, but when I try to draw a face, it's always disaster. About your book, by the way. Oh, thank you, Flavio. Figure drawing. Oh, that's a great question, but it's similar topic. To me, the torso is, I approach the torso like I approach the face. I approach a leg like I approach the torso. So for me, how I draw a face is how I draw a torso and vice versa. So my whole figure drawing philosophy is built on the torso, and I draw it the same way. What's the outer point? Is it long? Is it wide? Is it round? Is it square? Is it muscular? Those kind of things. If you can exaggerate those, that's a whole other class. We'll do figure drawing, probably be the next class. David says likeness related with proportions. Correct. Davi says then goes to small features. Squint a lot to capture the angles, anchor points. Don't forget to draw the lights as well. We tend to draw shadows. That's a great point. Yeah, lights is a great way to see a corner, but that's more of a form, a three-dimensional idea. That's a wonderful comment, Davi Rosa. Manny asks, is this series going to be once a week? I don't know yet. Probably. I might do 2 a week. That's a great question. But I'll make sure to update on the mailing list. Thanks for your live. I work for video games. Your tips helping. Quentin says, I work in video games. Great. Yeah, a lot of video game artists tend to lose touch with their drawing skills when they get, when they start working. Alessio says, hey, Chris, I want to start painting. How should I approach that? Should I start with master studies or paint from life? Yes and yes, both. I would do both. I don't know how to start painting. I don't know where you are. I'd have to see your work. But I always recommend obviously still life copies, and I always recommend first black and white, and also burnt umber or monochrome, burnt umber, burnt sienna, or blue. Tim says, Art Vendelay, sometimes you achieve more likeness with just an angled thick line than just drawing an eye. That's a great point, especially with the eye. Davi says, sometimes you achieve more likeness with just an angled thick line than just drawing an eye. I found the less you draw the eye, the better it looks. I know this sounds crazy because as human beings, we're so focused on eyes. And as artists, when we want to draw faces, we tend to like analyze the eyes to death. But I found the more detail I draw in an eye, it just looks like total shit. Basically, the less detail, it looks more like the person. And it's just not just me saying this. I've heard this from two other artists. One is Joseph Todorovich. Joseph Todorovich is a young artist, but he's already excellent. You know, some would call him a young master, up and coming master. Excellent realist artist. I took many drawing classes and spent a lot of time with him in his studio when I lived in Los Angeles, and he told me the same thing. He's like we overthink and overdraw the detail in the eye. So less is more in the eye. And also, one of his mentors, the biggest influences, Jeremy Lipking. I think we all watching this know Jeremy Lipking. He also said the same thing. I took a painting workshop with him many years ago, and he said the same thing. We tend to over-analyze and over-detail the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, but particularly the eyes. So less is more with the eyes. And also, someone that pops to mind is Casey Bao. Excellent. You know, some would also call him a living young master. Casey Bao, if you... and he was a student of Richard Schmid, who also taught Jeremy Lipking. So I'm guessing they're along the same vein, which is less is more, particularly with the eyes. So that's a great comment, Davi. We tend to forget to squint. Sometimes it helps a lot. Squinting helps. Yes, I always forget to squint. And Flavia said, thanks, Debbie Rosa, for the tips. So thank you, guys. And thank you for watching to the end. Here's my... Oops. For those of you who want to do the homework, I started a Pinterest board called Head Types. Can I share this board? I'm not sure if I ever... Let me see if I can share this board. I think you can. Oh, here you go. Here you go. For those of you who watch to the end. So you can do the homework. I just dug up some of these killer, unique head types. All right, guys. I'm going to cut out for now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your questions and comments. Make sure to subscribe to my email list so you can get updates on the upcoming head drawing class and when the next live stream will be. So thank you, guys, and I hope to see you in the next class. So until next time, take care.